Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yang berbahagia Datuk Profesor Dr. Muhammad Faiz Abdullah, Chairman of ISIS Malaysia, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, good morning, still morning, and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thank you, Datuk Faiz, for that introduction. But I also like to say thank you to ISIS for having me, and congratulations on advancing Malaysia's intellectual discourse through this PRAXIS 2024 conference and with the collaboration of your esteemed partners. The conference theme, the salient theme of today is Policies for a Better Tomorrow. I think this is timely. We need to take stock of where we are in terms of policy achievements. We need to see what tailwinds as well as headwinds that lie ahead and determine how we can progress in the immediate and long term. This morning, we had our National Investment Council meeting. It's a monthly meeting chaired by the Honourable Prime Minister. And he spoke about how the changing global landscape presents risks as well as opportunities for Malaysia, especially as we gear up to assume the chairmanship of ASEAN in 2025. In fact, we take over chairmanship of ASEAN in October 2024. There was also a session on Malaysia's ambitious targets to increase our economic complexity ranking under the new Industrial Master Plan. I think my colleague Adrena spoke about this earlier today. So I would specifically like to talk about 3 points. From recovery to rejuvenation, and then from tech war to tech opportunities for Malaysia. So first, how government and MITI is increasing trade and investments. This is, of course, to push for economic growth. Since independence, Malaysia's growth trajectory has been quite remarkable, right? If you look at from the late 1980s to the late 1990s, our average annual GDP growth was over 9%. Right? Hundreds of thousands of Malaysians were lifted out of poverty as jobs were created in both the manufacturing and services sectors. And then, of course, you can see the skyscrapers transform the cityscape of Kuala Lumpur, Petronas Twin Towers, effectively putting Malaysia on the global map. And Malaysia became an upper middle income country and quickly sets its sight to become a fully developed nation. But these plans did not materialize. Their target was 2020, right? Malaysia became stuck in the middle income trap, which our Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Ibrahim, described as caught in a vicious cycle of low wages, low profits, and lack of competitiveness. And post-COVID, there have been challenging factors as well, from the escalating global geopolitical rivalry to accelerating digitalization and the adverse impacts of climate change, which has really made the global economy more complex in this multipolar world, right? But escalating US-China tensions, fraught with geopolitical risks, also brings about potential opportunities. This emergence or de-emergence of competing supply chains at both countries' efforts to decouple from each other's economies has reshaped the dynamics of both international trade and international investments. So for Malaysia, as we navigate through this turbulent terrain, understanding the clear division within the global tech ecosystem has been crucial in positioning Malaysia as a preferred investment destination, particularly for semiconductors. So China, we have this Made in China 2025 initiative, seeks to establish dominance in crucial technologies such as AI, robotics, renewable energy, EVs, aerospace, and biotechnology. And in response, the US has restricted critical exports and domestic innovation investments through initiatives such as CHIPS Act, for example. As a result, many investors are seeking diversification across regions, across sectors, as a risk mitigation measure. And the security concerns and over-reliance have led both economies and their regional partners to invest more in separate rival tech supply chains. So Malaysia, this is bringing me to my second point, which is on how Malaysia, as a middle power, can play its role in global supply chain security. The US-China standoff presents opportunities for Malaysia, particularly via our E&E and renewable energy sectors. Globally, investors in industries such as EV, electrical vehicles, solar power, are focused on securing sensitive trade goods. At the heart of today's tech Cold War lies a battle over the semiconductor supply chain. And Malaysia's 50-year-old semiconductor sector places us in an excellent position to reap such opportunities. This is why we introduced the National Semiconductor Strategy. This is to move our semiconductor producers up the global value chain for us to export more high-value products. We've already welcomed global investors. Recently, our Prime Minister officiated the new investment by Infineon, for example. We also have Intel and Tax Instruments, who also have increased investment in Malaysia. And this is partly due to our agile tech supply chains. And indeed, as I mentioned, Infineon also just launched the biggest silicon carbide plant, and we have Lam Research as well as a few others that are just announced their intention to expand and to invest in this sector. Indeed, as technology continues to evolve, investors are also considering the transformative potential of emerging technologies, such as generative AI, for example. To that end, Malaysia is also actively courting investments in related assets, such as robotics, AI-powered logistics suppliers, and industrial real estate. In short, hardware, software, as well as applications across the AI ecosystem. This is to help global investors mitigate risks. Indeed, the semiconductor industry is the backbone of today's biggest technologies, including AI, electric vehicle, and factory automation. It is also important in securing economic prosperity and national security for tech superpowers such as China and the US, especially as Taiwan still dominates semiconductor manufacturing worldwide. We know that Taiwan dominates the global semiconductor manufacturing supply chain. However, given China's proximity and influence, there has been a shift away from Taiwan. Analysts have estimated that government initiatives such as the CHIPS Act may inject roughly $100 billion into the semiconductor industry across the US, Europe, and Asia. And Malaysia has the industrial capacity, the track record, and the rule of law to successfully reap that opportunity. So Malaysia can truly become a middle power broker, right, to support the security of the global tech supply chain. This is why the National Semiconductor Strategy has earmarked over 25 billion ringgit for the next decade to strengthen and upscale Malaysia's semiconductor sector through talent development, targeted initiatives for local companies, and incentives to promote investments in high value added, especially on the front-end activities. Aside from our efforts on skilled talent development, Malaysia must also apply data-driven solutions. Therefore, the continued need for strategic, deliberate, and conscious actions by policymakers. On that score, as I mentioned, at today's National Investment Council, actually we presented a key proposal to establish an integrated digital platform which consists of the Supply Chain Intelligent Management System, Business Continuity App, and a virtual center of excellence. So together, all this will map, gather, and analyze real-time data from the supply chains of critical industries in Malaysia, and to clearly see how one sector's supply chain supports another sector. So to this is what the Madani Economy Framework is about, is to utilize smart resources, as I mentioned, the data analytics, and to restructure the Malaysian industries so we can position ourselves as a regional economic leader while ensuring better broader-based growth for a more inclusive and equitable enjoyment of the enlarged wealth. So, ladies and gentlemen, brings me to my third and last point for today, which is ensuring economic inclusivity and security for all. Right? The government is committed to the Madani economy framework through the National Industrial Master Plan 2030, which covers this. In 2023, when we reviewed Malaysia's industrial policy, we not only broke away from past sector-based principles, but we also adopted a mission-based approach. This is the first in Malaysia's policy-making history. Aside from aiming to create a vibrant and agile manufacturing sector to drive technological innovation, R&D, productivity growth, as well as high-skilled job creation, we also want to improve economic security and inclusivity. This is also related to ESG and our push for net zero. That's our third mission in our Industrial Master Plan. Specific sector-based strategies are also crucial to realize the Industrial Master Plan's goals. And within the last 1 year, MITI has also launched the National Industry ESG Framework. We call it the IESG. We are aware that industrial policies can and must assume a new role due to climate risks. The EU's Green Deal Industrial Plan and their policies, for example, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, the CBAM, seem like moving goalposts for emerging market exporters. We are therefore ramping out industrial capacities and capabilities in strategic sectors such as green technology to stay competitive and also secure the vital supply chains. So capacity building, that's also key. This is why Malaysia also recently launched the Green Investment Strategy, our GIS. This will complement our net zero mission under the National Master Plan as well as our National Energy Transition Roadmap. So the GIS, the Green Investment Strategy, drives the innovation and investments needed to achieve a just energy transition, ensuring that our climate commitments are met while protecting the well-being of our workers affected through the creation of new job opportunities and reskilling. So we want to focus on green technologies to improve resource efficiency, therefore accelerating Malaysia's transition to a low-carbon economy. Indeed, if you look at the last 18 months or so, we have attracted many renowned investors, MNC investors, into Malaysia's renewable energy. This includes, for example, from UAE, Mazda. They have committed around $8 billion US dollars to develop up to 10 gigawatts of RE projects across Malaysia. This is just one to name, many to name. So it's involved solar, wind, battery energy storage system, for example. And Malaysia also recently launched the Krian Integrated Green Industrial Park. This is in Perak, Kigip. One of the promoters is here in the room. This is designed to be a green technology and industrial hub, powered primarily by renewable energy. So this is a big park. It's about 1,000 acres to start off with. 660 acres is the solar farm, right? Residential areas and green environments, and it's an attempt to attract high-quality investments in sectors such as electronics, semiconductors, and logistics. And we had an update today. The Prime Minister is coming down again on 30th of August to look and see for himself the progress of the park. So this greening of existing industrial parks is very important and is a priority under the Industrial Master Plan as well. And the Central Bank, Bank Negara, has mandated that at least 50% of new bank financing must support climate supporting or energy transition activities by 2026. That's just 2 years' time, including the greening of industrial parks. So the Central Bank is also developing guidelines to align financial institution strategies with our national climate goals, ensuring a robust financing framework for the greening of Malaysia's industrial landscape. So the Green Investment Strategy is also looking into various initiatives to mobilize private capital towards advancing circular economies, climate mitigation, adaptation strategies, and sustainability mobility in our industry. Ultimately, what we need is a just transition for our industries. This is not only to ensure their continued access to eco-sensitive markets, but also because this is the right thing to do, for our people and for our planet. So on the right policy track, but execution is key and more can be done. So ladies and gentlemen, blueprints and master plans are nothing without effective execution. This is why we have diligently followed up on commitment, especially when you talk about committed investments through our various trade and investment missions. In terms of approved investments, the country achieved, as what the Vice just now said, a record high of 330 billion ringgit in 2023. This is an increase of close to 25% year on year. And in the first quarter, we announced another increase compared to the first quarter of last year. That's about 13% increase. Again, the focus is the follow-through, and the follow-through is key. So to that end, I'm happy to share that all the investments that we have announced, the realization rate of approved investment is at 80%. So thanks to the diligent follow-up via agency in various ministries and government, led by MIDA, we have now a system called the Invest Malaysia Facilitation Center and Track. And then this is for investment. So when we look at trade in 2023, our exports surpassed 1 trillion ringgit. This is for the third year running, despite a cyclical downturn in the semiconductor industry and commodities. I'm equally proud to share that for the first half of this year, of 2024, our total trade reached 1.4 trillion ringgit. This is highest ever for the period, right? So the country has also recorded over 2 decades of uninterrupted quarterly trade surpluses, especially E&E and other manufactured goods, massively contributing to exports. So compared to many of our regional neighbors, Malaysia has shown its ability to punch well above its weight in the movement of goods across borders. This is also attributed to Malaysia's commitment to the rules-based framework of global trade through its membership of an extensive ecosystem of free trade agreements. Of course, we have the RCEP, CPTPP, this is 2 of the largest FTAs, and many others. If I'm not mistaken, we have about 16 FTAs, both bilateral and multilateral. But despite our achievements, we must not be complacent, and I think we are not complacent. There is considerable room for improvement, and these include, one, is enhancing the utilization rate of FTAs. I think we discussed this in the room just now, especially for RCEP and CPTPP, among others, especially among Malaysian firms. Number 2, we need to empower more SMEs to participate in international trade. To this end, our ministry and MarTrade especially have been actively conducting outreach sessions with an awareness workshops for SMEs on the benefits that can be gained from Malaysia's network of FTAs. Number 3, we need to build up on our economic diplomacy, right, to affirm Malaysia's place in the region and the world as a respected middle power. And lastly, we need to build resilience. How do we do that? By economic diversification, both in terms of types of commodities traded and the markets that we trade with. So 2 recent examples of diversification include the establishment of expansion of non-traditional markets, such as Brazil, right, Egypt and Libya. Our Prime Minister has also announced Malaysia's intention, for example, to join the BRICS group of nations, a step forward in reinforcing our commitment to South-South cooperation as well. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, while we must think globally, we should also act locally and regionally, particularly as Malaysia assumes the ASEAN Chairmanship in 2025. Last year, ASEAN launched negotiations on the highly anticipated Digital Economic Framework Agreement, which we hope we can conclude, we aim to conclude when we chair next year. And this has the potential to grow Malaysia's digital sectors such as big data, storage, and AI. So next year, all eyes will be on us. First, we must conduct a comprehensive review of the ASEAN Economic Community Blueprint 2025, the very same vision that we put in place in 2015. And we must also find ways to enhance regional integration, such as through a reduction of non-tariff barriers or through the seamless movement of skilled labor. This is just to name a few. So in tandem with this, we must take the lead in charting the way forward for ASEAN in trade, connectivity, cooperation, innovation, and people-to-people linkages for 2040 and beyond. So ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, let me return to the theme of PRAXIS 2024, which is policies for a better tomorrow. So through the various plans that the government has announced, the Industrial Master Plan, the Energy Transition Roadmap, of course, we have the review of the 12th Malaysia Plan, among others. The government is no doubt putting the building blocks of policy in place for a better developed Malaysia in the years to come. So from the escalating global geopolitical rivalry to accelerating digitalization and adverse impacts of climate change, we must never cease to adapt, mitigate, and evolve, for the sake of the rakyat's prosperity and well-being. So by fulfilling the Madani's economy's existential goals of sustainable development, Malaysia's leadership among ASEAN economies will be important. Right? Equally important is our whole-of-nation effort to ensure the equitable sharing of wealth among Malaysians. There must also be continuous feedback and buy-in from the private sector, from the civil society, the think tanks, and society at large. With that, it is my sincere hope that over the course of these 2 days, this conference will generate powerful ideas that can contribute to Malaysia's long-term sustainable and inclusive socio-economic prosperity. So I wish all the delegates here a fruitful and a productive conference. Thank you. Sekian. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum.